3 weeks had passed since Kim Tae's late-night experiment, and the situation was getting worse every day. The void scar near Research Station Prometheus had grown to the size of a small moon. It pulled in everything that came too close. Rocks, ice, even light itself seemed to bend around its edges. Dr. Bae-won sat in her office on Earth reading the reports with growing alarm. As Earth's chief representative to the Galactic Council, she had seen many strange things in her career. But nothing like this. "Ma'am, you have an urgent message from the Council," her assistant announced through the intercom. Bae-won opened the transmission. A tall, thin alien appeared on her screen. She recognized Ambassador Veltar of the Frenari race. His kind looked like walking crystals, with faceted skin that reflected light in rainbow patterns. "Dr. Bae-won," Veltar's voice came through the translator device. "We need to discuss the spatial disturbances in your system immediately. Our sensors detected massive tears in reality near your research station." "I'm not sure what you mean, Ambassador," Bae-won replied carefully. The breach drive project was still classified. Only a few people knew about Kim Tae's discovery. Veltar's crystalline face showed no emotion, but his tone was serious. "Doctor, 3 days ago, every monitoring station within 50 light-years detected a space-time rupture. The energy signature came from your solar system. We know you are experimenting with dangerous technology." Bae-won felt her stomach drop. If the Council knew about the drive, it meant the secret was out. She had hoped to keep the project quiet until they could make it safe. "I will need to speak with my government," she said finally. "You have 48 hours to provide an explanation," Veltar replied. "The Council takes threats to space-time very seriously. We have seen entire star systems consumed by such experiments." The transmission ended, leaving Bae-won staring at a blank screen. She immediately called President Kang-soo's office. Within an hour, she was sitting in the highest-level security meeting Earth had ever held. Meanwhile, at Research Station Prometheus, the team was preparing for another test. Despite Captain Lee Bo's orders to shut down the project, pressure from Earth's government had forced them to continue. Military leaders wanted to understand the drive's potential as a weapon, even if it was dangerous. Cho-min suited up in the pilot's gear, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. She was Earth's best test pilot, chosen for this mission because of her experience with experimental aircraft. But nothing had prepared her for this. "Are you sure about this, Min?" Park Soo asked as he helped her into the small spacecraft. "We still don't understand what's happening to space around the tiers." Cho-min smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Someone has to be the first. Might as well be me." The ship was barely large enough for one person. Kim Tae had designed it specifically for this test, with a small breach drive mounted directly behind the pilot's seat. The plan was simple: open a tear, fly through it, and appear 100 light-years away near a distant star. Kim Tae ran through the final checks. He had spent weeks refining the equations, trying to solve the problem of the void scars. His new calculations suggested that a moving breach might close more cleanly than a stationary one. "All systems green," Yoon-da announced from the control room. "Quantum sensors are recording everything." Captain Lee Bo spoke into his radio. "All ships clear the area immediately. Test vehicle is preparing for breach jump." Cho-min's voice came through the speakers, calm and professional. "Control, this is Test Ship 1, ready for jump on your command." Kim Tae's finger hovered over the activation switch. Despite his confidence in the new equations, he couldn't shake the feeling that something would go wrong. The void scar from their earlier tests still pulsed with strange energy nearby. "Beginning jump sequence," Kim Tae announced. He pressed the button. The space in front of Cho-min's ship split open like a wound in reality. Unlike the small tears from their earlier tests, this one was huge, large enough for the ship to fly through. But instead of the clean black hole they expected, this tear showed glimpses of something else on the other side, swirling colors and twisted space that hurt to look at. Cho-min flew her ship into the tear without hesitation. The moment she crossed the threshold, the opening snapped shut behind her. But this time the scar it left was different. Instead of a simple void, it pulsed with the same strange colors they had seen inside the tear. "Min, do you copy?" Park Soo called into his radio. There was no answer. They waited. According to the plan, Cho-min would appear near the target star, take some readings, and then jump back to Earth. The round trip should take less than an hour. 43 minutes later, space tore open again near the research station. Cho-min's ship tumbled out of the breach, spinning wildly. Emergency crews rushed to help as she managed to land on the station's docking bay. When they pulled her from the cockpit, Cho-min was pale and shaking. Her hair had turned completely white and her eyes had a haunted look. "What did you see in there?" Yoon-da asked gently as the medical team checked her over. Cho-min's voice was barely a whisper. "It's not empty space between the tiers. There's something else in there. Something that watches." She spent the next hour describing her journey. The space inside the tear wasn't like normal space. It was filled with twisting passages and strange geometries that shouldn't exist. She had seen things moving in the distance, vast shapes that might have been creatures or machines. "The ship's sensors went crazy," she explained. "Time moved differently in there. I felt like I was traveling for days, but you say it was only minutes." Kim Tae studied the data from her ship's instruments. The readings made no sense. According to the sensors, Cho-min had traveled through spaces that had negative dimensions and visited places where the laws of physics worked backwards. "We need to understand this better," he said. "If we can map the space between tiers, maybe we can make the journey safer." But Earth's government had different ideas. General Crix from the Defense Ministry arrived the next day with new orders. Instead of making the drive safer, they wanted to make it faster and more powerful. "Imagine the military applications," General Crix explained to the assembled team. "Ships that can appear anywhere instantly. We could end any war before it starts." Dr. Yoon-da looked horrified. "General, you don't understand. Each time we use the drive, we damage space itself. If we keep making tiers, we might break something that can't be fixed." "That's a risk we'll have to take," the general replied. "The council has given us an ultimatum. Either we prove we can control this technology, or they'll force us to stop. We need to show them that humans aren't afraid of a little danger." Over the next week, they conducted 5 more tests. Each one created a larger tear and left a bigger scar. The void scars began to connect, forming a network of damaged space around Earth's solar system. On the alien world of Nexus Prime, the Council's emergency session was already being planned. Ambassador Veltar stood before a holographic display showing the growing network of void scars around Earth. "The humans have conducted 6 major space-time breaches in 10 days. He reported to the assembled representatives of a dozen alien races. "Each breach is larger than the last. If they continue at this rate, they will destabilize this entire sector of the galaxy." General Crix of the Vorthan Empire, a race of insect-like warriors, clicked his mandibles in annoyance. "Why don't we simply destroy them before they can cause more damage?" "Because they are a council member species," Chancellor Mordun replied. The ethereal collective leader looked like a cloud of shimmering gas with glowing points for eyes. "We cannot attack them without following proper procedures, but we can quarantine them." Ambassador Veltar pulled up new data. "There's another problem. Our deep space monitors have detected similar energy signatures in other parts of human space. They're building more of these devices." The council chamber fell silent. If humans were building multiple breach drives across their territory, the threat was far worse than anyone had imagined. "How long before they destabilize local spacetime?" asked the representative from the Aquatic Union. "At their current rate of testing, perhaps 6 months, Veltar calculated. But if they build dozens of these devices and use them regularly for transportation, it could happen much sooner." Chancellor Morden made the decision that would change everything. "Prepare the emergency session protocols. Send formal warnings to the human government immediately. If they do not cease these experiments within 1 week, we will have no choice but to contain them by force." Back on Earth, Dr. Baewan received the Council's ultimatum with growing dread. She immediately called President Kang-soo to discuss their options. "They're threatening to quarantine our entire species," she explained. "No human ship will be allowed to leave our solar system. They'll surround us with their fleet and cut us off from the rest of the galaxy." President Kang-soo was defiant. "Let them try. We have the breach drive now. Their ships can't catch something that can appear anywhere instantly. Sir, you don't understand. This isn't about military power. They're trying to prevent us from destroying the galaxy. Every time we use the breach drive, we damage the fabric of space itself." But the president had already made up his mind. "Dr. Baewan, you will return to the council and tell them that humanity will not be bullied." Dr. Kim Tae stared at the numbers on his screen for the 10th time that morning. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't care. After 15 years of failed attempts, the math finally worked. The equations that had driven him crazy for so long suddenly made perfect sense. "Park Soo, come look at this," Kim Tae called to his friend across the lab. Park Soo was bent over a pile of broken engine parts, his hands covered in grease. He looked up with tired eyes. "What is it now, Tae? Another theory that will blow up in our faces?" Park Soo wiped his hands on a dirty cloth and walked over. They had been working together since college, and Park Soo knew that look in Kim Tae's eyes. It was the same look he had right before their last experiment nearly destroyed half the research station. Kim Tae pointed at his screen. "Look at these numbers. The energy requirements drop by 90% if we don't try to bend space. Instead, we just tear a hole through it." Park Soo leaned closer and studied the data. His face went pale. "Tae, this is insane. You want to rip open space itself? Do you have any idea what could happen?" "It will work," Kim Tae said with confidence. "All the other races in the galaxy use fold drives. They gently bend space to travel faster than light. But what if we don't need to be gentle? What if we just punch through?" Captain Lee Bo entered the lab at that moment. The military officer was tall and serious, with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had been assigned to watch over their research project for the past 2 years. The government wanted to make sure their tax money wasn't being wasted on impossible dreams. "Doctors," I heard shouting. "Is there a problem?" Captain Lee Bo asked. Kim Tae spun around in his chair with excitement. "No problem at all, Captain. We just solved faster than light travel." Captain Lee Bo raised one eyebrow. He had heard this claim many times before. "Show me." For the next hour, Kim Tae explained his new theory. Instead of folding space like a piece of paper, his drive would create a tear in the fabric of reality itself. A ship could pass through this tear and appear anywhere in the universe almost instantly. "The beauty is in its simplicity," Kim Tae said as he drew diagrams on the whiteboard. "We don't need exotic matter or impossible energy sources. We just need enough power to rip open a hole in space." Park Soo looked worried. "But what happens to the hole after we go through it?" Kim Tae waved his hand dismissively. "It closes up naturally. Space wants to heal itself. The hole will disappear in a few minutes." Dr. Yoon-da arrived for the afternoon shift and found the 3 men arguing loudly. She was the team's expert on quantum mechanics and had a reputation for asking difficult questions. "What are you all fighting about?" she asked as she set down her bag. Captain Lee Bo pointed at the whiteboard. "Dr. Kim thinks he can tear holes in space to travel faster than light. I think he's lost his mind." Yoon-da studied the equations carefully. She was quiet for a long time, checking the math over and over. Finally, she looked up with a strange expression. "This could actually work," she said slowly. "The energy requirements are within our capabilities." "But Tae, have you thought about what happens if the hole doesn't close properly?" "It will close," Kim Tae insisted. "The math proves it." "Math is one thing," Yoon-da replied. "Reality is another. What if you're wrong?" Despite the concerns, the team decided to build a small prototype. They worked for 3 months using spare parts and borrowed equipment. The device looked like a metal ring about the size of a dinner plate, surrounded by complex machinery. The first test was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. They planned to send a small probe through the tear in space. The probe would travel to a nearby star system and send back a signal to prove the drive worked. Kim Tae's hands shook as he prepared the final settings. Park Soo stood ready at the emergency shutdown controls. Captain Lee Bo watched from behind a protective barrier. Yoon-da monitored the quantum sensors that would detect any dangerous side effects. "All systems ready," Park Soo announced. "Probe loaded and prepared for launch," Yoon-da added. Captain Lee Bo spoke into his radio. "Control room, we are beginning the test. Clear all ships from the target area." Kim Tae took a deep breath and pressed the activation button. The ring began to glow with a strange purple light. The air around it started to shimmer and twist. Then, with a sound like reality itself was being torn apart, a black hole appeared in the center of the ring. But this wasn't like the black holes in space. This was a hole in space itself, leading to somewhere else entirely. The probe shot through the hole and disappeared. Immediately, the hole snapped shut with another terrible sound. The room fell silent except for the humming of machines. "Did it work?" Captain Lee Bo asked quietly. They waited. According to the plan, the probe would need 30 minutes to reach its destination and send back a signal. The target was a star system 50 light-years away. With normal technology, the journey would take centuries. 28 minutes later, their radio crackled to life. A weak signal came through, growing stronger by the second. It was the probe's identification code broadcasting from exactly where they had aimed it. "We did it," Kim Tae whispered. Then louder, "We actually did it." The celebration was brief. Yoon Da was staring at her quantum sensors with a worried expression. "Tae, come look at this." The sensors showed something that shouldn't exist. Where the hole had opened and closed, space itself was damaged. There was a scar in reality, invisible to normal eyes but clear on the quantum level. "What is that?" Park Soo asked. "I don't know," Yoon Da admitted. "The hole closed, but it left something behind. The space here isn't the same as it was before." Kim Tae studied the readings. "It's probably nothing. Just some temporary distortion. It will heal in time." But Yoon wasn't convinced. She spent the next few days monitoring the scar. Instead of healing, it was growing slowly larger. Worse, it seemed to be pulling in small particles of dust and gas from around the station. "Tae, we have a problem," she said during their weekly meeting. "The scar isn't disappearing. It's getting bigger and it's eating space debris." Kim Tae looked at her data and frowned. "That's impossible. The math clearly shows the hole should close completely." "Maybe your math is wrong," Park Soo suggested carefully. "The math is perfect," Kim Tae snapped. There must be another explanation. Captain Lee Bo had been quiet during this discussion. Finally, he spoke up. "Whatever the explanation, we need to report this to headquarters. If there's any danger, they need to know." Kim Tae felt his life's work slipping away. "Wait, give me one more test. I can figure out what went wrong. I can fix this." "Absolutely not," Captain Lee Bo said firmly. "We're shutting down the project until we understand what's happening." But Kim Tae had already made up his mind. That night, after everyone had gone home, he returned to the lab alone. He activated the drive again, this time using different settings. Maybe a smaller hole would be safer. The second tear opened right next to the first one. When it closed, it left another scar. But something unexpected happened. The two scars began to connect, forming a larger damaged area in space. Kim Tae watched in horror as asteroids near the station were pulled into the growing void. Whatever he had created, it was hungry, and it was getting stronger. By morning, when the rest of the team arrived, Kim Tae was still sitting in front of his monitors. The quantum sensors showed the truth that he could no longer deny. He hadn't just invented faster than light travel. He had created something that could devour reality itself. "What have I done?" he whispered as his friends gathered around him. In space, 3 sectors away, an alien monitoring station detected the massive disturbance. The technician on duty had never seen anything like it. Emergency signals were sent racing across the galaxy toward the Council's headquarters. Humanity had announced its presence to the universe in the most terrifying way possible. President Kang Soo slammed his fist on the conference table so hard that the water glasses jumped. "Absolutely not. We will not hand over our most important technology to aliens who want to keep us weak." Young Ho had been trying to explain the EE Council's ultimatum for over an hour, but Earth's leadership was not interested in compromise. Around the table sat the planet's most powerful people, military generals, corporate leaders, and government officials, who saw the breach drive as humanity's ticket to galactic dominance. "Sir, with respect, you don't understand what we're facing," Young Ho said carefully. "The Council has ships that can destroy entire planets. If we don't comply with their demands, they'll quarantine our entire solar system." General Park Min, the head of Earth's defense forces, laughed coldly. "Let them try. We have 30 breach-capable ships now, with more being built every day. Their fleet can't fight enemies that can appear anywhere without warning." Dr. Sim Ye looked up from her tablet, where she had been monitoring the void scars around Earth. "General, every time our ships use the breach drive, we damage space itself. The scars are growing larger and connecting faster than we predicted." "That's a problem for scientists to solve," President Kang Soo replied. "Our job is to protect humanity's independence." Admiral Song Uk entered the room at that moment, still wearing his space uniform from the orbital shipyards. He had been overseeing the construction of Earth's first breach drive battle fleet. "Mr. President, I have news from the outer system perimeter. Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching our solar system. They'll arrive within 48 hours. The room fell silent. Everyone knew this moment would come, but facing it was different from imagining it. "How many ships?" President Kang Soo asked. "Over 300 vessels of unknown design." They're using fold drives, so they're moving slower than our breach ships, but their fleet is enormous, Dr. O'Bin, who had been quiet throughout the meeting, finally spoke up. She was one of Dr. Kim Tae's former students and had taken over much of the breach drive research. I might have a solution to the void scar problem, she said hesitantly. My team has been working on something we call space healing technology. Instead of tearing holes in reality, we've learned to stitch space back together. President Kang-soo leaned forward with interest. Explain. The void scars act like wounds in space-time. We've developed a way to close those wounds by feeding controlled energy into them. It's like using a laser to seal a cut. General Park Min looked skeptical. How long would it take to heal all the existing damage? With our current equipment, about 6 months, Dr. O'Bin admitted. But if we could build larger healing devices, we might be able to do it faster. We don't have 6 months, Admiral Song-uk pointed out. The Council fleet will be here in 2 days. President Kang-soo made his decision. We'll fight if we have to. Admiral Song, deploy the breach fleet to defensive positions around Earth. If the Council wants a war, they'll get one. As the meeting broke up, Young-ho pulled Dr. Sim-ye aside. This is insane. We can't win a war against the entire galaxy. Maybe we don't have to win, she replied thoughtfully. Maybe we just have to prove that we're more useful alive than dead. 2 days later, the Council fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. The alien ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Some looked like living creatures made of metal and crystal. Others resembled geometric shapes that seemed to fold in on themselves. A few appeared to be made entirely of light. Captain Nam-ji stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Pioneer, humanity's newest and most advanced breach-capable warship. Through the view screen, she could see the massive alien fleet spreading out in a perfect formation that surrounded the entire solar system. Communications. Open a channel to the Council fleet, she ordered. A holographic image appeared showing Ambassador Veltar standing on the bridge of what was apparently the Council's flagship. Captain Nam-ji, Veltar's translated voice was calm but firm. I am authorized to speak for the Council fleet. You have 1 hour to surrender your breach drive technology and submit to quarantine protocols. And if we refuse? Captain Nam-ji asked. Then we will be forced to disable your ships and occupy your system until compliance is achieved. Captain Nam-ji cut the transmission and immediately contacted Admiral Song-uk. Sir, they're giving us an ultimatum. 1 hour to surrender or face occupation. Deploy the fleet, Admiral Song-uk ordered. All ships prepare for combat. 30 Earth ships spread out through the solar system, vastly outnumbered but armed with technology the Council had never faced before. The breach drives gave them the ability to appear anywhere instantly, making them nearly impossible to target or track. The first engagement happened near Mars. A squadron of Council ships tried to intercept the Pioneer as it moved to protect the orbital mining stations. Captain Nam-ji activated the breach drive, and her ship simply vanished, reappearing directly behind the alien vessels. Fire all weapons, she ordered. The Pioneer's energy beams and missiles struck the Council ships before they could react. But instead of being destroyed, the alien vessels were protected by energy shields that absorbed most of the damage. Minimal effect on target, her weapons officer reported. Before Captain Nam-ji could order another attack, space around her ship began to glow with strange energy. The Council had deployed some kind of containment field that made it impossible to open another breach. Breach drive is not responding, her engineer called out. Something is interfering with our space-time manipulation systems. The Council ships turned to face the Pioneer, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Captain Nam-ji realized that her ship was trapped, unable to escape or defend itself effectively. All ships, this is Pioneer, she broadcast on the emergency channel. The Council has some kind of breach suppression technology. Do not engage directly. Maintain distance and... Her transmission was cut off as the Council ships opened fire. The Pioneer's shields held for a few seconds before collapsing under the concentrated assault. The ship was disabled but not destroyed. The Council wanted prisoners, not corpses. Similar battles erupted throughout the solar system. Earth's breach. Ships had the advantage of surprise and mobility, but the Council fleet had superior numbers and technology. Worse, their breach suppression fields meant that human ships could only use their special drives for short periods before being trapped. On Earth, President Kang Su watched the space battle from the military command center. The tactical displays showed human ships being disabled one by one, though they were giving better than they got. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Council flagship," the communications officer announced. Chancellor Morden appeared on the main screen, his gaseous form swirling with what might have been anger. "President Kang Su, this pointless resistance must end. Your ships are brave but outmatched. Surrender now and we will treat your people with mercy." "Humanity does not surrender," President Kang Su replied firmly. "We will fight for our freedom until the last ship is destroyed. Then you will doom your species for the sake of pride," Chancellor Morden said sadly, "but perhaps there is another way." The transmission changed and Dr. Kim Tae appeared on screen. He was obviously being held on one of the Council ships, but he didn't appear to be mistreated. "Mr. President, I've been working with Council scientists for the past 3 days, Kim Tae said. "They're not our enemies. They've shown me what happens when space-time manipulation goes wrong. Entire civilizations have been consumed by the void." "Tae, what are you saying?" President Kang Su asked. "I'm saying we can work together. The Council has technology that can stabilize our breach drives. Combined with Dr. Oh Bin's healing research, we might be able to create something better than either of us could build alone." General Park Min stepped forward angrily. "You're collaborating with the enemy." "They're not the enemy," Kim Tae insisted. "The real enemy is the thing that lives in the space between realities. Every time we tear open space-time, we give it a chance to break through. The Council has been fighting that threat for thousands of years." President Kang Su felt uncertainty creeping into his mind. "What thing? What are you talking about?" Before Kim Tae could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. On the tactical displays, new contacts were appearing, but not Council ships. These were something else entirely. "Doctor." Oh Bin rushed to her monitoring station, her face pale with fear. "The void scars are opening up. Something is coming through." Through the largest void scar near Jupiter, massive shapes began to emerge. They were dark and twisted, looking like living shadows that hurt to look at directly. Unlike the ships of humans or Council races, these things seem to exist partially outside normal space. "What are those?" someone whispered. On the communication screen, Kim Tae's face was grim. "Those are the Void Hunters. They've been waiting in the spaces between realities for someone to open enough holes for them to cross through. We've given them exactly what they needed." The shadow creatures began moving toward the inner solar system, and every ship they passed, human or Council, simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed or captured, but erased from reality as if they had never been there at all. Chancellor Morden's voice cut through the chaos. "All ships, human and Council, fall back to Earth orbit immediately." Dr. Oh Bin had never worked so fast in her life. Around her, the emergency laboratory buzzed with activity as human and Council scientists worked side by side for the first time. The language barriers were enormous, but mathematics was universal, and they all understood the threat bearing down on Earth. "The void implosion device needs more power than we originally calculated," she announced to the mixed group of researchers. "We'll need to channel energy from both human breach drives and Council fold generators simultaneously." Researcher Zaleth of the Council looked like a walking tree made of silver metal, with branches that moved like arms and glowing fruits that served as eyes. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind through leaves. "The power requirements are dangerous," Zaleth said through his translator. "If we miscalculate, we could create a void explosion instead of an implosion. That would tear open permanent gateways for more hunters to cross through." Dr. Kim Tae, who had been transported from the Council ship to help with the project, looked up from his equations. "The risk is worth it. If we don't try, the hunters will consume everything anyway." Captain Li Bo, now promoted to admiral after the crisis began, coordinated the military aspects of their plan. Human and Council ships were positioned around the largest void scar near Jupiter, preparing to channel their combined energy into Oh Bin's experimental device. "All ships report ready." Admiral Lebo announced. But we only get one chance at this. If it fails, there won't be time for a second attempt. Through the laboratory windows, they could see the Void Hunters approaching Earth. The shadow creatures had grown larger as they consumed more matter and energy. Some of them were now the size of small moons, and their mere presence was causing reality to warp around them. President Kang Su's voice came over the communication system from the government bunker. Dr. Obin, you have authorization to proceed. The fate of our species, all our species, is in your hands. Obin took a deep breath and activated the device. Immediately, space around the laboratory began to shimmer as the modified breach drive and council stabilizers worked together. The sensation was like standing next to a waterfall made of reality itself. Energy levels rising, reported Dr. Simye from her monitoring station. Both human and council ships are channeling power into the Void network. On the tactical displays, they could see the effects starting to work. The Void scars began to pulse with brilliant light as the implosion device fed energy back into the damaged spacetime. But something unexpected was happening. The scars aren't just closing, Zalith observed with excitement. They're healing stronger than before. The implosion is actually reinforcing the fabric of space. Dr. Kim Tae stared at his readings in amazement. Of course. We've been thinking about this wrong. The Void scars aren't just damage. They're weak points that can be strengthened. We're not just healing space, we're making it better than it was originally. But their celebration was premature. The Void Hunters had sensed what was happening, and were rushing toward Earth at impossible speed. The largest of them, a creature that looked like a living black hole with teeth, was only hours away from reaching the planet. They're trying to stop us, Admiral Song-Uk reported from his flagship. Some of the smaller hunters are breaking off to attack our ships. Captain Nam-ji, back in command of a repaired Earth vessel, found herself fighting alongside council ships against enemies that defied all logic. The Void Hunters didn't follow the normal laws of physics. They could appear and disappear at will, phase through solid matter, and erase anything they touched. Conventional weapons are useless, she reported. Energy beams just pass through them. Missiles disappear before they can detonate. Ambassador Veltar, coordinating the defense from his flagship, had an idea. Captain Namji, try using your breach drive as a weapon. Create small tiers in space directly around the hunters. Namji activated her ship's breach drive, but instead of using it to travel, she created tiny holes in space-time near the attacking creatures. The effect was immediate and devastating. The hunters were pulled into the micro-tiers and scattered across multiple dimensions. It works, she shouted. The breach drive can hurt them. The tactic spread quickly through both fleets. Human ships used their breach drives as weapons while council vessels provided covering fire and energy shields. It was chaotic and dangerous, but it was working. Back in the laboratory, Dr. Obin was pushing the implosion device to its limits. The energy requirements kept growing as they tried to heal larger and larger sections of damaged space. We need more power, she announced. The device is working, but not fast enough. At this rate, the largest hunter will reach Earth before we can close all the Void scars. Dr. Lim Su, who had arrived from Earth Space Program headquarters, suggested a desperate solution. What if we overload the breach drives? Channel all their energy into the implosion device at once? That would destroy every human ship with a breach drive. Admiral Li Bo protested. Better than letting the hunters consume the galaxy. Dr. Kim Tae replied grimly. But Zalith had a different idea. What if we don't destroy the drives? What if we modify them permanently? Instead of tearing holes in space, we could make them strengthen space wherever they go. The concept was revolutionary. Instead of faster-than-light travel that damaged reality, they could create FTL drives that actually improved the fabric of spacetime. Theoretically possible, Dr. Obin said as she ran quick calculations, but we'd need to modify every drive simultaneously, while channeling their power into the healing process. Can it be done? President Kang Su asked over the communications link. Only one way to find out, Kim Tae replied. Working frantically, the combined team of human and council scientists transmitted modification instructions to every ship in both fleets. The changes were dangerous and irreversible. If they failed, every FTL-capable ship would be permanently disabled. All ships, prepare for drive modification. Admiral Song-Uk announced. This is either humanity's greatest breakthrough or our final mistake. One by one, the ships began implementing the changes. Human breach drives were modified with council stabilizing technology. while Council fold drives were enhanced with human breakthrough engineering. The result was something entirely new. Phase drives that could move ships faster than ever before while actually strengthening space instead of damaging it. Modification complete, Captain Namji reported. Testing new drive system. Now. Her ship didn't just disappear and reappear like the old breach drives. Instead, it seemed to flow through space like water, leaving behind a trail of reinforced spacetime that glowed with stable energy. Incredible, Ambassador Veltar whispered. The new drives are healing space as they move through it. All across the solar system, ships began using their modified drives. Each jump not only moved them instantly to new locations, but also strengthened the fabric of reality around them. The void scars began closing faster as the healing effect spread through the entire network. The largest void hunter reached Earth's orbit, just as the last major void scar was sealed. The creature, deprived of the dimensional weaknesses it needed to maintain its presence in normal space, began to fade like smoke in the wind. "It's working," Dr. Obin shouted. "The hunters can't exist in normal space without the void network to anchor them." One by one, the shadow creatures were pulled back into the spaces between realities. The tiers in spacetime sealed themselves permanently, leaving behind a fabric of space that was stronger and more stable than it had ever been before. In the aftermath, as both fleets regrouped around Earth, the magnitude of what they had accomplished began to sink in. Humanity and the Council had not just defeated a galactic threat, they had revolutionized space travel itself. "The phase drives are incredible," Dr. Lim Su reported from her analysis station. "They're 3 times faster than the old breach drives, completely safe, and they actually improve space as they're used. We could travel to other galaxies without any risk." Chancellor Morden appeared on the communication screens throughout both fleets. "This day marks the beginning of a new era. Humanity will join the Council not as junior members but as full partners. Your innovative thinking, combined with our accumulated wisdom, has created something neither of us could have achieved alone." President Kang Su, humbled by the near disaster his policies had almost caused, formally accepted the Council's offer of partnership. "We understand now that freedom comes with responsibility. Humanity pledges to use our new technology wisely and to help protect the galaxy from future threats." The establishment of the Human Council Technology Corps happened quickly. Joint research stations were built throughout both territories, where species that had never worked together before collaborated on projects that seemed impossible just weeks earlier. Dr. Kim Tae and researcher Zaleth became close friends. Despite their completely different biologies, they worked together on refining the phase drive technology and developing new applications for spacetime engineering. "Your people think differently than ours," Zaleth told Kim Tae one day as they worked in their shared laboratory. "We always seek stability and safety. You seek breakthrough and discovery. Together we can achieve things neither approach could accomplish alone." The Council chamber on Nexus Prime had not seen such activity in 800 years. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive circular hall, their conversations creating a buzz of different languages and sounds. Some spoke with voices, others with colors, and a few communicated through scent patterns that hung in the air like invisible clouds. Jung Ho walked through the great doors, trying not to show how nervous he felt. As Earth's new representative to the Council, he had never seen anything like this place. The chamber was so large that its ceiling disappeared into shadow above them. Floating platforms held delegates from species that lived in gas clouds, while others sat in pools of liquid methane. Next to him, Dr. Sim Ye carried a heavy briefcase containing Earth's defense materials. She was one of the few people who truly understood the breach drive technology, and Jung Ho hoped her scientific knowledge would help their case. "Remember," Jung Ho whispered to her as they found their assigned seats, "we're not just defending the technology. We're defending humanity's right to exist as a free species." Dr. Simya nodded, but her attention was focused on the massive holographic display floating in the center of the chamber. It showed a 3-dimensional map of space around Earth's solar system, with angry red marks indicating the void scars left by their breach drive tests. Chancellor Morden rose from his position at the center of the chamber. When he spoke, his voice somehow reached every corner of the vast room without echoing. "This emergency session is called to order. We are here to address the threat posed by the human species and their dangerous reality manipulation technology." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Emergency sessions were rare, called only when the entire galaxy was in danger. Ambassador Veltar stepped forward to present the evidence. His crystalline body caught the light from the holographic display, creating rainbow patterns on the walls around him. Honored delegates 17 days ago, the humans achieved faster than light travel by tearing holes in space-time itself. Since then, they have conducted 14 separate breach events, each one leaving permanent damage to the fabric of reality. The holographic display zoomed in on Earth's solar system, showing the network of void scars in detail. Some of the smaller alien delegates gasped at the sight. As you can see, the damaged areas are connecting to form a web of instability. Our scientists estimate that if this continues, local space-time will collapse within 6 months. General Crix of the Vorthan Empire stood up, his insect-like body towering over the smaller delegates around him. The solution is simple. We destroy them before they can cause more damage. That would be genocide, Young-Ho said, rising from his seat. My species has the right to defend itself. Chancellor Morden gestured for calm. The human representative will have his chance to speak. General Crix, please continue your statement. The humans have proven they cannot be trusted with dangerous technology. General Crix clicked. They have ignored our warnings and continue their reckless experiments. Military action is the only solution. Support for this harsh approach came from several other military-focused species. The Stellar Federation's Admiral Quen spoke next. His blue-scaled reptilian features set in a stern expression. We have protocols for dealing with reality weapons. The Treaty of Cosmic Safety specifically forbids any technology that damages space-time. The humans have violated this treaty. But humanity is not a signatory to that treaty, Dr. Simye pointed out. We were never invited to join the Council until after we developed space travel. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse, Admiral Quen replied. Especially when that ignorance threatens every living being in the galaxy. The representative from the Aquatic Union, a creature that looked like a walking jellyfish, pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as it spoke. We have seen this before. 12 centuries ago, the Vexhide developed similar technology. They assured us it was safe. Their homeworld is now a dead zone where space and time no longer function properly. Young-Ho felt his heart sink. If the Council had faced this threat before, it would be much harder to convince them that humanity was different. Chancellor Mordoon addressed Young-Ho directly. Human representative, you have requested the right to speak in your species' defense. The Council will hear your words. Young-Ho stood and walked to the center of the chamber, where a circular platform rose to elevate him above the crowd. As he looked around at the dozens of alien faces watching him, he realized that the fate of his entire species rested on what he said next. Honored delegates, he began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. I stand before you not just as a representative of humanity, but as proof that we can learn and grow. He gestured to the holographic display. Yes, we have damaged space with our experiments. Yes, we made mistakes, but we are already working to fix those mistakes. Dr. Simye will explain our progress. Dr. Simye joined him on the platform, activating her briefcase's holographic projector. New images appeared next to the Council's display, showing detailed technical diagrams. We have developed containment protocols, she announced. Our latest tests show that we can create controlled breaches that leave minimal scarring. More importantly, we believe we can develop technology to repair the damage we've already caused. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates seemed interested in this possibility, while others appeared skeptical. Ambassador Veltar's voice cut through the noise. Dr. Simye, even if you can minimize future damage, what about the existing void scars? They continue to grow and connect. Our sensors show they have already consumed 3 asteroids and are affecting the orbits of planets in your outer system. Dr. Simye admitted the truth. We don't yet know how to completely heal the existing damage, but we're confident we can find a solution given time. Time you may not have, said the representative from the gas giant collective, a being made of swirling clouds. Our deep space observers report unusual activity in the void regions. Something may be using your tears in space-time as gateways. Young-Ho felt a chill run down his spine. He remembered Chomin's reports about seeing things moving in the space between breaches. What kind of activity? Dr. Simye asked. Unknown entities attempting to cross through into normal space, the cloud being replied. So far, the tiers are too small and unstable for anything large to pass through. But if the network continues to grow, The implications hung in the air like a death sentence. Not only was humanity damaging space-time, they might be opening doorways for hostile forces from outside reality. Chancellor Morden called for order as the chamber descended into chaos. The Council will now vote on the proposed solutions. General Crix, present your military option. General Crix's mandibles clicked as he spoke. Total quarantine of the human species. We surround their solar system with a containment fleet. No human ship leaves their space. No human technology spreads to other worlds. If they continue their experiments, we use targeted strikes to destroy their research facilities. And if they resist? Young-ho asked. Then we do what is necessary to protect the galaxy. General Crix replied coldly. Admiral Quinn presented a slightly less harsh alternative. Economic sanctions and technology sharing restrictions. We cut off all trade with humanity until they abandon the breach drive completely. The representative from the Peaceful Worlds Alliance, a tree-like being covered in flowering vines, offered a different approach. Joint research programs. We share our fold drive technology with the humans in exchange for their promise to stop breach drive development. Young-ho stepped forward again. Honored delegates, I ask you to consider what humanity brings to the galaxy. We may be reckless, but we are also innovative. Our breach drive, properly controlled, could revolutionize transportation for all species. At what cost? Ambassador Veltar asked. How many star systems are you willing to sacrifice for faster travel? None, Dr. Simier replied firmly. That's why we're working so hard to make it safe. Give us 6 months to prove we can control the technology. Chancellor Mordoon began the formal voting process. All those in favor of immediate military action? 8 delegations raised their agreement signals, lights, sounds, or gesture patterns depending on their species. All those in favor of economic sanctions? 12 more delegations responded. All those in favor of the joint research proposal? 18 delegations showed support. All those in favor of giving the humans 6 months to prove their technology is safe? 9 delegations agreed, including some that Young-ho hadn't expected. The results were clear, but not overwhelming. The Council was divided on how to handle the human threat. Chancellor Morden announced the decision. By majority vote, the Council agrees to the joint research proposal with conditions. Humanity will immediately cease all breach drive testing. Council scientists will establish monitoring stations in human space. Any further damage to spacetime will result in immediate military intervention. Young-ho felt relief wash over him, but it was mixed with concern. Stopping all testing would be difficult to sell to Earth's government, especially the military leaders who wanted to weaponize the technology. There is one more condition, Chancellor Morden continued. The humans must provide complete technical specifications for their breach drive to Council scientists within 30 days.